Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Catherine and welcome if you're new. I post videos about traveling and languages. And before we get into the video, please excuse any sounds you can hear in the background. And yeah, I am actually starting a new series on my channel. I got this idea from Journal Languages. She does Spanish media review, but I thought I would do something with German, and what I decided to do is from time to time I will be sharing my favorite resources, and it's not gonna be like super popular resources. Some of them are still popular and you might know them. If you are learning German, you might come across them, but mostly I want them to be something like more unique, something I come across maybe even spontaneously, or just some cool stuff, some movies, podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever that may be. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with podcasts, and the first podcast is my #1 podcast at the moment. I've been listening constantly. Whenever I have time to listen to something in German, I most likely will go to this podcast, and that is 14 Minuten Deutsch. I discovered it relatively recently. Basically, it's what the title suggests, is just 14-minute podcast where he talks about all kinds of different topics, culture, tourism, history, famous people, geography, just anything. And he also has a website where you can sign up and get transcripts for free. I actually haven't done it. I've been mostly just listening to the podcast. Yeah, if it's something you want to do, there is also an option to do that. And I absolutely love this podcast because not only he talks about all kinds of topics and not specifically how you learn German, but also it's not too short and it's not too long. So 14 minutes is just right. And if you only have 15 minutes a day to study a language, this is just perfect, and I highly recommend. The next one is kind of similar, but it's shorter. So it's Slow German mit Annick Rubens. I haven't actually listened to it in a while, but I really love this podcast. She also talks about all kinds of topics, but her podcasts are very short. They're like 5 to 7 minutes long, and she also has a website with transcripts for free, so that's also a really great resource. And then another of my not really like recent favorites, I've been listening to this podcast since February, March maybe, and that is Deutsch Podcast. It's hosted by these two friends. They are also teachers and they also prüfen. How do you say prüfen? They like correct the exams, and one of them is actually Finnish, so German is not her first language, but she is so fluent in German. Like, wow, I dream of that day when I am so fluent. But they actually talk about learning German, and they have interviews with different people from different countries who have learned German and how to better learn German. And they also have podcasts about grammar structures and vocabulary learning. They have this Vokabeln Intensiv where they talk about all kinds of synonyms. For example, they would take one word like beautiful, and in that episode they will talk about how you can express that something is beautiful with all kinds of synonyms. And it's really cool for those who learn through listening. I honestly use it just for listening practice because I don't learn the best while listening, but it's still good. It's still better than nothing. And another thing I like about this podcast is that they have podcast episodes for every level. So if you're just a beginner, they talk very slowly, very clearly, and then for B1, B2, they talk a bit faster, and then for advanced learners, they just talk their normal speed, but nonetheless, they talk quite clearly and you can understand everything. And then the last podcast is for those who are a bit more advanced, and it is Auf Deutsch gesagt. It is basically a podcast where he has interviews with different people in German. At the end of the podcast, he discusses vocabulary, grammar structures, maybe some mistakes that the person made, stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand everything that he says, and it's still quite difficult for me. So yeah, there is always place for for growth, but it's a great resource nonetheless. Okay, now let's talk about reading. I actually have two books that you probably know, and that is Short Stories in German by Olly. This one is for beginners, this one is for intermediate learners. I'm not gonna lie, I am still reading through this book and I haven't started this one, but I'm gonna read this one as soon as I finish the first one. And I don't know about this one, but this has the exact same stories that Short Stories in Spanish and Short Stories in Italian has, but just like changed a little bit, like the names of the characters and the places where characters live, because it's in German, so he changed them to Germany's geography and Germany's culture, but nonetheless it's really cool. And it is not like the high literature, like the classic high literature, so don't expect anything too fancy. What I really like about it is that there is words in bold, and then at the end he actually summarizes the story, and then he just writes down the words that were in bold, he translates them, and then there's also a little like a quiz where you can test yourself. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not doing it, and I'm also not reading the vocabulary lists because most of the words, like I know most of the words, and then there's a few words that are not highlighted that I actually don't know. But yeah, it's still like two very amazing books for reading in German. And then I only have one YouTube channel for now, because all of the other YouTube channels that I've been watching recently are very popular, like Easy German, but I have one YouTube channel that does not focus on learning German. So if you are a little bit more advanced or like intermediate to advanced, then this YouTube channel will be for you, especially if you love traveling as much as I do, and that is Wir machen das einfach. And they also have a blog, and I've read their blog posts a few times, and they haven't published any videos in 10 months, but they still have 70 something videos, so there's a lot to choose from, and they have traveled all around the world, and their videos are very cool, very informative, very beautiful, so I highly recommend that. And then I have like 1.5 movies. So the first movie is Mein Zuhause. This is a Christian movie. The main character is this girl who has been living between her mom's and her dad's homes, and she doesn't really know where her home is. And then sometime later, when she's in university, her dad gets sick, and yeah, and her mom is sick as well, and it's just a lot of tragic events that are happening with her, but she discovers Jesus, and she discovers Jesus's love, and it's just a beautiful story, and I highly recommend if you are, again, a little bit like intermediate to advanced in German. And then the last one is the one that I actually haven't finished yet. I swear I start a movie but I never finish it, and I never watch movies in my target languages in one sitting. I don't know, like I can binge watch an entire season of TV series if it's in Russian, English, or Latvian, or maybe Lithuanian as well. If it's in German, Spanish, or Italian, I can never finish the movie in one sitting. It takes me weeks. And that movie is Schneekönigin. It is based on Grimm's fairy tale Snow Queen, and it's very beautiful. And I watched like 30 minutes, and they talk pretty clearly, and yeah, it's such a beautiful movie. As I said, I haven't finished it yet, but I think it's gonna be very good. So there you have it. Those are my recent favorite German resources, and yeah, if you know any like cool, unique resources that I should check out, definitely leave a comment down below. And I hope you enjoyed this new series. If you want me to make similar videos in either Spanish, Italian, or Lithuanian, definitely leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you very soon. Bye!